What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another Bucks on Deck podcast episode. I'm Anthony Murphy. Along with me tonight is Nola Jeffy. Nola, how's it going today?
Oh, fantastic. Just, since we're recording Monday night, first inning of the Pirates game just ended, so
Yeah,
just chilling.
it's different to have a Pirates game going while we're doing this. Usually everything else is. I think I had some random game on in the background last time, but I like these West Coast things, West Coast trips. Maybe a little bit less now that I'm a little bit older because like I do feel it, but
Mm-hmm.
also like during when the other minor league games are going on, I can actually sit down and watch the Pirates game now. No minor league games today, but yeah, so that's always fun.
There'll be plenty on the day this comes out.
Yeah, yep. So, um, we got a nice little episode here where April's winding down here, so I figure we'd go through and kind of highlight a couple players that stood out to us during the month of April. Maybe a couple maybe not players per se, but some numbers that are standing out that are a little bit of concern to us. And then I have a player to watch going forward. And then, of course, we'll hit up the Nola will hit up with his weekly preview, looking ahead, looking over your article. It looked like it's going to be a pretty exciting week or interesting week potentially for a couple of the systems.
Yeah, even with there's a couple injuries, but it still should be
Yeah,
pretty fire.
one injury kind of sucks too because I was looking forward to seeing him on there all the way down towards the bottom. But start out, like I said, April's getting ready to end here. First month of the minor league season. Was it only one more day of minor league games there? So most of the guys they won't play again until then. Anyone particular stand out to you, or did you want me to go ahead and start?
Um, let me start just
Let's
because
start. All right, go ahead.
you're gonna like this one.
I'm gonna like this one. Are you gonna take one of my players? I'm pretty
I'm not
upset.
gonna
We
take one of your
didn't.
players,
We,
but this one's a constant battle between the two of us.
I know where we're going with this one.
Yeah, so I'm a shout out my boy Sammy Ciani, who's in the month of April got a 146 WRC plus. He's walking at a 11.9% clip and striking out only 15.3%, which is like a lot of these kids been a bit huge bugaboo of his. So
Mm-hmm.
it's good to see that with the 843 OPS. So very solid month for him. And he had normally been a big bag stealer. He hadn't been to start the year. I think he's got 3 now.
Yeah,
With
I
a
was gonna
couple
say.
over the week.
I'm pretty sure he stole like a couple over this past week.
Oh, it
So
was 2. It was 2 on the 27th. As
okay.
his 2 stolen bases of the season.
So just for reference here, because I'm pretty sure I remember what the because I was kind of digging through like the leaderboards and stuff like that. Do you have the WRC plus pulled up still for the month or for the season? I guess.
For Ciani,
Or no, just for the whole system, or you just have Ciani's pulled up.
I just got Ciani's right now.
Oh, that's convenient
I
because
could,
I was going to say
when I,
because I'm fairly certain Hudson Head is like right there with it. So we're not going to look at any of the other numbers. Maybe home runs. The
well,
WRC.
yeah, he's directly below him at 135.
See, the battle continues.
Yeah, we won't talk about the other numbers in his
I mean,
batting
I
line,
mean,
but
Hudson Head's been efficient. He's been efficient with his hits. Like they've all gone over the fence, and then he doesn't want to show anybody up, so he's just he's going to hit his home run here and there. And
he just
does
trot the
Ciani have a
bases.
walk off home run? Does Ciani have
I
a
don't
walk
think
off
so.
home run? I didn't think so.
So.
I didn't think so.
Well,
Okay. So no, Ciani's played good. It's good to see one of those guys kind of do something, I guess, or maybe something that will warrant pushing some of these guys in Double A who just kind of been hanging around for as long as Ciani and them's been hanging around in High A.
yeah,
So
but then that kind of leads into the other point that I sent in on your spot on NS9 this morning.
yeah, hitting prospects don't exist until they reach out to you. and then they literally cease to exist once they get there.
Which and even then, like it's like they might get caught up going on a hot streak. It's like, yeah, but we have to wait till next year. See what they do next year.
Yeah. All right. Well, staying in high A, we had thought about, or you had asked about if we were doing like one per level. I said it'd probably be hard to find one per level there. So I'm going to stick in high A, and I'm a pitching guy, so I'm going to have to go with a pitcher, and I'm going to go with Patrick Riley. He's been and he's a guy that really intrigued us after the draft. We kind of assumed he'd get a shot as a starter. Control, the big bugaboo for him in college, and I think he walked like 8 or 9 batters in like 9 or 10 innings last year with Bradenton. So like the walks were showing there. A complete 180 flip so far. What is it? He has a 9.1 walk rate. He's striking out 43.9% of the batters he's facing. And then when you look at like the swing and miss, like he's not losing anything with his with starting, stretching out past a couple innings. The swing and strike rate is like 32nd out of all players in the minors that have at least 10 innings pitched, and that's over 1,000 people, 1,000 players. He's 32nd in swing and strike rate, 28th in xFIP, and then 29th in strikeout or K to walk. So really good start for him. Been a little bit by the home run bug, but I mean he's playing in Greensboro, so that'll happen.
Well, and
I think
even
something like that.
I say even further, like speaking of who's pitching, neither recording Falter and Jared Jones. It's just with the type of stuff he has and the shape he has on his pitches. I mean, he's going to be pitching top of the zone, so it's something you're going to have to kind of live with.
Yeah. I mean, like you said with like Jared Jones, we've seen that with Jared Jones in the majors. Sometimes when you just throw gas like that at the top of the zone, like batter squares it up. That's plenty of velocity for them to turn on. So it happens. It's going to happen even more in Greensboro. I know I looked at it. His home run rate or the fly ball rate was like 20%, and like league average is usually around 10. So he's like double that. That's something like we saw with like Sean Sullivan, to where we kind of assumed that would kind of level out. I think Sean Sullivan's was even higher than that.
He had a ridiculous.
His was like in the 30s, I think, or really close to 30, which was insane. I'm still not sure how I feel about him as a starter, because Josh Norris from Baseball America, he was at one of his starts recently, and like he recorded it, and I asked him on Twitter like what the velo was looking like, and he said like it was 92 to 94 and topped out at like 96, which isn't horrible, but like this is a guy that we also saw last year in Bradenton, like throw right at triple digits. I don't know if he ever actually broke triple digits, but I know he was 99 quite a bit.
Yeah,
so,
and which I don't recall specifically, but he was another one of the guys that was I think was a starter for maybe a minute, but was primarily out of the bullpen in college, right?
Yeah. So he kind of bounced around. I think Vanderbilt, they're always pretty loaded when it comes to pitchers. So I think his freshman year probably would have been like the year that like Leiter and Kumar Rocker and all them were still there. So probably not as much opportunities to start and all that. And then when you have that kind of control issues.
And if you're pitching in the SEC in college baseball, I mean, you got to put up or you're going to get moved to the pen, kind of like Thatcher Hurd. He got moved pretty quickly to the pen.
He got moved to the pen finally.
I believe he's thrown out of the pen now. And which, I mean, on that note, I mean, that honestly, what I saw in him in the College World Series last year, he's probably a perfect candidate to be a Pirate draft pick, considering SEC guy that big
SEC.
I mean, that metrics wise, it shows up. He just hasn't been able to put it all together as a starter in college. So
get the guys with the stuff and teach them how to throw strikes. And it's worked so far with Riley. He's throwing strikes, and he's not losing any of the stuff to go with it. Like his swing and strike rate is right there with Paul Skeens. So like So Patrick Riley, really good start to the season. Really someone that looking forward to seeing how what's next. How long he can continue this.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Did you have anyone else you wanted to, or you want me to skip
Well,
to it? Or you?
Well, I'll do a pair.
Okay.
And I guess the theme of this podcast is going to be Greensboro, who, let's be honest, is kind of really the darling of the Pirate system right now.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned this earlier to you, Alessandro Ercolani and Wilbur Dotel.
Mm-hmm.
They both have almost identical pitching lines right now. They've each thrown 15.1 innings in 4 games. They each have 2 earned runs. They each have 6 walks. Ercolani has 14 strikeouts and 11 hits against. Dotel has 10 hits against and 15 strikeouts. But yeah, a 1.17 ERA for both. 2 kids that we've talked pretty highly on and frequently about, that a very good start to their high A careers. And I'm really looking forward to seeing them hold up throughout this season.
Yeah, was it Dotel's really the one that kind of stands out from like a wow factor, because he was hitting what I think it was against Winston-Salem that Sunday. He hit triple digits a couple times. And like you said, we definitely saw upper 90s in Bradenton last year, but never touched triple digit. And there's minor league radar guns. They're like, when I went to Richmond that one year, like it had Luis Ortiz at like 20 miles an hour or something like that at one point. And we know Luis Ortiz wasn't throwing 20 miles an hour. So,
right.
So, I mean, it could be give or take a mile or two. But, yeah, those guys were – I was a little shocked that they pushed them to high A, to be honest. I mean, Ercolani was still 19 when the season started. So I can see a scenario. But, I mean, they – say what you will about a lot of things, but the Pirates have been fairly aggressive with their pitching prospects, especially if they think highly of them. And so they pushed them, and they've performed. They performed pretty good.
Yeah.
So
I'll say, because that was that technically Ercolani's. He was 2 years in Bradenton, I believe.
No, last year was his first year in Bradenton. He pitched 2 years in the complex.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought he actually threw in Bradenton twice. It's just, I mean, last year was just the most he threw. I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think, because that would put him at 18 in Bradenton. Or at least
I'm pretty sure. I mean, because obviously, I mean, he was an international free agent.
Yeah.
But he came over and was pitching in the FCL early on, whereas the other kids aren't normally. Okay, yeah, you're right. You were right. He was in the FCL 21-22, Bradenton 23.
Yeah. I mean, just turned 20. He'll be 20 the rest of the year. He'll start next year. Like, if everything goes well, I mean, he could be starting in Altoona at 20 years old. So not bad.
Not too shabby.
No. All right. So I like Dotel and Ercolani on there. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't continue the pitching train on here. Michael Kennedy. Michael Kennedy was like, he was another prep pick that they gave an overslot to. He's just been solid the last 2 weeks. Hasn't walked anyone in his last 2 starts. I know the walks kind of got the best of him at times last year. I think he had one of the games in Bradenton he played. He had like 5 walks in like 2 or 3 innings or something like that. It was like his last appearance of the season, longest season he's probably pitched. So probably worn down and stuff like that. But walks were something I was a little worried about coming in. And then so he doesn't have like an overpowering fastball. I think right now he's averaging right at 90 miles an hour with it. He's gotten up to 92, but usually sits in that like 89 to 90 range with it. But the 25% strikeout rate with it, he has a whiff rate right under 30%. And like 30% is like, if you can get over 30% with whiff rate with the fastball, I mean, that's you're doing pretty good for yourself at that point. And then too,
Yeah.
when you think about people who get over that 30% whiff rate, you're usually thinking mid to upper 90s with the fastball, and he's doing it at 90. So, prototypical like Pirates guy. He has his extension pretty good extension. I kind of like mapped it out on there. He'd be about in like the 70th percentile in extension among like major league pitchers. So Pirates love their soft tossing lefties with extensions,
with big extension.
Like that. Yep. Low arm release point. The approach angle, it's like trending in the not like ideal way kind of thing, but it's still on the right side of it. A lot of arm side run on the pitch, just for like a fastball that you probably wouldn't think too much of. He does a good job at generating miss and stuff like that, and it's really helped him out in Bradenton so far. So it's been real solid. Bradenton's got a couple guys that are really starting to kind of come on and stuff like that. I'm gonna talk about another one later. But, yeah.
Well, and that's something that we've also been just kind of talking about since spring, and when we were seeing the data from TJ Stats, that there just seems to be a heavy emphasis on flat two-seamers with a lot of these pitchers lately.
Yep. A lot of you can kind of see. You look at the shape and the metrics and all that of a lot of the fastballs in Bradenton. As you know, there's a lot of the 2023 draft class there, and you can kind of you definitely see a trend. You can definitely see. I think I read somewhere where like they asked Ben Cherington about like if there's like a certain type of pitcher or something they go to, and he did the usual can't really zero in on one type because then you miss things or if they get taken. But like I mean, there's enough of a 1+1 kind of thing going on here to where it's like, okay, well you clearly have you have a type. You have a type. You don't want to admit it, but like there's a type you go after. And
sure seems to be a lot of guys throwing flat sinkers lately.
Yeah. From a low arm slap. So, but Kennedy, solid guy. He'll be 19 all year. Like his birthday's in November, so like he'll be 19 all year in Bradenton. So could be 20 going into Greensboro next year. So
maybe even later this year. Who knows?
Maybe even later this year. Yeah. So that's my two guys. Did you have anyone else you wanted to wrap up on? I got one more. I got one more here. If you want me to just knock him out the way.
Yeah, you go ahead.
All
Your
right.
boy.
Well, yep. You know we can't have a standout. Talk about some standouts, and we can't and not talk about my boy Omar Alfonso. I kind of talked about it. I talked about it a little bit on NS9 this morning. But Baseball America also had an article out with him, which really good timing with it, talking about like some StatCast standouts and stuff like that. And I dug a little bit more into it, like his exit velocity numbers, which is something I kind of made note of last year that kind of made him intriguing, kind of what made him stand out to me and stuff like that. He's taken a step forward in almost every single hitting metric that you can put together. His max exit velocity is up. All his percentile exit velocity is up. In-zone contact rate, he already had an 82% in-zone contact rate last year, which was one of the better marks in the system. He's got that up all the way up to 88%. The whiff rate, he's dropped that down. Huh?
Is that good?
It's okay. It's okay. Better than a lot of the other players in the system right now.
Yeah.
The hard hit rate, that's up by 10%. The barrel rate is up. He's 9th in the Florida State League in WRC plus, 6th in walk rate. Like he has the second best swing and strike rate among all qualified hitters in the Florida State League. So it's getting to the point now to where like he's getting much better than the competition he's facing, and I would like Wilbur and I talked about it on the website today. It's like I would imagine it's probably close to time to start talking about maybe giving him that push up to Greensboro. There isn't to like I was thinking that someone like Blanchard would get more playing time there, and with him not just getting the primary playing time there, I just like you can push Alfonso up there, have him take them, and still play him catcher at first base, and he's not really stealing at bats from anyone.
Yeah, for some, it does seem like I guess they still have a thing for Ross, or they're just keeping him there to hold down.
I was very surprised.
Keeping him there to hold a spot.
Yeah, I would still assume that. I still would have assumed that Blanchard would get the majority of the playing time on there. So the fact that they not only do they keep Sean Ross as the catcher, but they also are prioritizing him there, kind of speaks to it. So, but those are some guys that kind of stood out to me in April. Be interesting to see how they get forward. And since I've kind of turned into a buzzkill on NS9, maybe I can just carry that over to here to some numbers as I was kind of playing with the leaderboards and stuff like that. Some stuff that didn't seem as good. I guess I'll go ahead and just kick this off here, and I'm just going to go straight up pretty much with like the Altoona rotation outside of Sean Sullivan. Sean Sullivan's been good. Like he's allowed 1 run in his last 2 starts over 10 innings. Strikeouts. I mean, he's not a strikeout pitcher, but like he's getting outs. Most everyone else is struggling. Like Solomito, he's struggling, and like I can rattle off the numbers, and they're going to sound very concerning. But he had multiple setbacks during spring training, to where like he's probably still building up. He's probably still like starting this upcoming week and going forward. We're kind of probably going to want to see him get back to form and stuff like that. But like I guess it's not too surprising that he's off to a slow start. Not really striking out many guys, walking a lot more, not getting a lot of swinging. Bo Chandler only has a 10.5% swing and strike rate right now, which is really low for him. Like most of his numbers aren't horrible. Like it's just I think the command in the strike zone isn't quite where it was at the end of the year last year. Maybe he's just it could still be like early season kind of building up and finding it. I don't want
to get too conspiratorial, but like part of me in his last start where he didn't even finish an inning was starting to wonder if maybe he was like tipping pitches or something, because I mean they weren't even offering at any of his breaking pitches.
Yeah.
And the fastball, I mean they couldn't square it up, but they weren't even chasing that. Like
no, it wasn't with zone.
Yeah, it was either way too high, or when he got it near the zone, I mean, they were fouling it off and everything, and then they just were waiting. And what did he give up? I think he only gave up 1 hit, I want to say.
Yeah, he only gave up 1 hit, and I think he hit a batter. Did he give up a hit? Or was it just like 2 walks and a hit batter?
If I want to say there was a hit batter, 2 walks, and a hit.
Okay.
Is what I believe. Yeah, he just wasn't finding the zone, and like I said, the breaking pitches, they weren't even offering at him. So
no, the breaking pitches, I think all off season I'd been mentioning that like I feel like the breaking pitches are the thing that's still looking to take a step forward for him. But like even at this point for him, they still weren't as effective as they usually are. I think a lot of it too is he gets. It seems like he lets like his emotions on the mound get the best of him at times. Like there's a couple calls that were like really close, and he did like the hop off the mound and start walking off trying to get the call, and he didn't. And then you can see like the body language and him get frustrated and I mean that's part of a 21-year-old who he pitches with a lot of emotion and stuff like that. But I don't think like the numbers are concerning, but like I'm not really concerned about them overall. It's 1 month. All like Solomito and Chandler, they're still super young for the level. Like someone like Kobe Chen, I was never really too high on him anyways. I think most people were higher on him than I've been. So like I'm not saying I predicted him doing this poorly, but also like I'm not surprised he's struggling a little bit in Double-A. Probably not to this extent, but
He's the kind of pitcher where obviously, and especially in lower levels, he's going to get by purely just off of being that much more advanced than the type of hitters he's facing. But once he
Having
gets to the
6 or 7
hitters that are,
pitches.
yeah, and he commands them all rather well, but pitchers or hitters that are going to be able to handle that type of stuff are going to see it and spit on it and crush the bad ones. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know something that you'll talk about even often, but a lot of these guys like a Solometo or Bubba, I mean, technically they would be in their junior year of college right now. So they're far more along than.
Yeah,
it's fine. There's
so like
time.
you think, oh yeah, and like you've already brought up Thatcher Hurd here, and they were in the same draft class at a high school. So like you think about it, Thatcher Hurd's like working out of the bullpen now with LSU, and if like let's just say in theory that the Pirates draft him, he'll probably be starting in Greensboro at best.
Right.
And, you know, there's always the chance with someone like him, he gets kept in like Bradenton or something like that. So when you think about it, like same age next year, you'll see some of those kids pitching in low A, and they pitched and Solometo and Chandler pitched all year in Double A. So still ahead of the game. They still got a lot of stuff to work on. They're still not finished products. It wasn't a great start to them, but like I have zero concerns about those two specifically going forward. So one guy I think I am concerned about. I'm gonna squeeze this guy in real quick, and then if you got anyone too, I got another one that's going to kind of lead into a small rant. But another guy that I think I am ready to hit like the panic button with is Charlene Polanco at this point, and I mentioned it in the I think it was in the group chat that he just doesn't seem like he has the ability to adjust to breaking pitches at all. Like he looks, I think there was an at bat. They threw like 3 straight curveballs, and he just swung and missed at every single one of them, and just wasn't close. He's still chasing way out of the zone. His swing and strike rate is 22%. His in zone contact rate's 69%. He has a 35 WRC plus. So yeah, he's one of those guys that like you and I will get more excited about than like people that just really follow the Pirates and stuff like that, because like we kind of watch them, so we see like the tools and we see like the overall skill set and stuff like that.
Right.
So he was always a guy that would probably excite like me or you more than the rest of the crowd. It's just that hit tool is just not coming around. Like he got off to this kind of start last year, and then he like slowly improved leading up to his injury. So I guess maybe we can see that again. But the fact that he's repeating the same level and it's like the exact same thing all over again, I think is pretty concerning at this point.
Right.
So
that could probably lead me down a long road of ranting itself. Just in part, I don't know what it is, especially with like these younger kids and especially the international free agents. The now released Alexander Mojica, Michael Escato, who's in his 3rd season in Greensboro. So many of these kids that we have a lot of hype on, which is why we kind of feel the way we do now, where a hitting prospect's not a prospect to hit Altoona, because so they're not even getting out of A ball, because you see them in Bradenton, and sure they'll hammer a fastball, but they look like they've never seen a breaking pitch in their life. And then you're just like, okay, well, maybe after a couple of months they'll adjust, and it's like, okay, a couple of months have gone by, give them time, they're still young. Then a year later, okay, they're still not adjusting. Like, what's going on?
Then it turns into, okay, well, they were super young for that level. Maybe. So I guess like someone like Jordani, like if we're to see Jordani De Los Santos this year, like it was like last year, like we got all these reports, like Eric Birdland told us, like, and like you could tell by the numbers, De Los Santos was probably one of the best, if not the best players in the FCL most of the time. Like any given moment when he was on the field, he was probably the best player there. And I'm not like like me bringing up anybody or anything like that's not me like discrediting them or anything like that, but because like the statistics backed up everything they were saying. And then he gets to Bradenton and it's like, oh, this guy's like, he was so overmatched that it was like, I felt bad for the guy at times. Cause like, he just didn't look like he had a plan, never made adjustments. And he was just overmatched by every pitch he saw, like he was getting overmatched by. But then like at the end of the year, you're kind of like, okay, well, I mean, he was 18. Maybe, maybe, or like with Polanco. Okay, well, he was 19 last year, so maybe he saw it. Maybe the experience will help. And then, but nope, we're still here, still doing the same thing.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because I actually just looked up Escato he's not even 22 yet.
Yeah, it's insane how so that would have put him right around like 18 that first year in Bradenton.
Yeah. Children.
Did you have anyone that kind of stuck out for you? Did you want me to get into my little mini rant real quick?
You go in your mini rant because I mean, for me, well, I'll just go into this real quick and just.
I know we probably agree on what I'm about to say more or less. You probably have some different views on. I don't know. I'll get into it and then.
I was gonna say mine was just gonna be a quick glance. Like the 7-day again, just in short. Let's see, from the MLB all the way down to Bradenton, the 5 teams, only Greensboro had a higher team OPS than league average. Everybody else was under. Bradenton was way under. Bradenton had under a 500 team OPS. Now,
yeah, at least, and like league average in the Florida Atlantic League is like one of the lowest league averages of all of like organized like baseball, pretty much.
Right, and when actually the league average for this South Atlantic League and Florida State League are both 657, which in itself is kind of they got to have dead baseballs in the Sally League this year or something.
Yeah, they changed
that's just crazy. But yeah, only Greensboro had a team OPS higher than league average. On the positive side, team ERA, only Altoona had a worse team ERA than league average. Everybody else was rather well. Let's. I mean, AAA Indy was close to average. Greensboro was just under average, but Bradenton and MLB were both much better than average. So there's some positive. Pitching's looking great.
Shocker. What have we spent the first like 95% of the first 30 minutes of this podcast talking about pitching? So.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I feel like we were kind of thrown, as of even a year ago, maybe even further than that, we were throwing red flags already. We're like, I feel like a year from now, pitching is going to look great. I don't know where hitting is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of red flags in advance, my boy, or I don't know my boy, but Tamar Johnson. That's kind of what I wanted to get into with it. And I talked about it a little bit. I talked to him about it a little bit on NS9 Monday morning, and he finally hit his first home run. So I mean, that's good. He's somehow has a WRC plus of 107. So I guess he's walking 20% of the time. So I'm sure that's helping with that. Striking out right at 30%. The swinging strike rate is 17.5%, which I don't know. Like all of the discourse on Twitter for I don't know what, like the last week or two, when the offense has really gone in the toilet in the majors, has been just like the organization's philosophy and this and that. And while I don't doubt that, like, and I have no inside information, so like people may be saying this stuff knowing that they've talked to someone on the inside and saying, yeah, this is what we're trying to do. I think when you're trying to find a bad guy or a villain or someone to blame or something like that, it's easy to blame just like the front office and stuff like that, just because like it's the Pirates, when they never do anything right. So
True story.
I don't doubt that the Pirates perhaps maybe did something with Tamar when he came in. I mean, like everyone was talking about how great the hit tool was, stuff like that. The only thing that I'll counter with it, and I mentioned it on Aniston, is that he's a high school kid, and you're putting that kind of grade on a high school kid. It's no matter what kind of competition you play, the step from high school, the step up from competition that you're seeing in high school to low A is so insanely wide that, like, I mean, he was probably facing pitchers that weren't even getting like college offers, or like they're going to D2, like, I mean, I don't know what their competition is, but like, I just, and looking at some of Tamar's numbers, and I watched a video, I have a video of his, all his plate appearances from Bradenton last year or 2022, right after he got drafted. And like, I don't know how quickly a team can actually step in and just completely change everything. But like almost from the get-go, it's always looked the same. There's always been those red flags there. I think they're getting exposed even more now because it's high A. It's that much more of an advanced thing. The red flags have always been there, and if you want to get technical, he's not pulling the ball more than he has been in previous years. He's actually going the other way technically more this year. So I don't know. Hitting is hard. Hitting at the professional level is hard. So people don't make it. Like Jackson Holiday went 1 for 50 or 1 for 30 or something like that, and he's a way better hitter than anyone the Pirates have. So I don't know. We want to blame some, and like I keep thinking back to, and I don't want to defend anything or do anything like that. I'm just here to watch baseball. But like I think back at my days working at like Sprint and T-Mobile, and like I can teach someone how to sell a tablet, and like I was really good at doing that. Like I could sit there and teach you and walk you through the entire process all day. I still had people walk up there when it was time to talk to the customer, and I had a guy who customer walks in and asks for 2 tablets. 5 minutes later, after the guy talked to him, they're saying, okay, well, I guess we have some things to think about and we'll come back later. Not wanting to buy a tablet. So like
Murphy just made me buy a tablet.
Yeah.
Like 5 seconds ago.
Yeah. So like the system can teach Tamar how to counter, or teach anybody how to counter hitting a curveball. It's still up to that player to actually go on the field and hit the curveball. So like they can tell him and be like, hey, do this and you're going to make contact. He still actually physically has to do that. And this is part of the reason why, like, as I've been going more into the drafting, the thing that's frustrated me now, thinking about it most about the drafts under Charrington, especially with their first round picks, is that they put themselves in such a hole with a lot of these, with the picks, because they're all these hit first guys that have, like, if they're not hitting, they provide zero value to the team. Henry Davis, we knew from the get-go that he probably wasn't going to be a major league catcher. It was going to be the bat that carried him. It was the bat that made him the first overall pick. And so now that he's not hitting, and regardless of what instruction is or isn't going on, I don't care at that point. He brings zero value to the team now, because he's not a major league catcher and he's not hitting. Nick Gonzalez, second baseman, still middle of the field. It's not as valuable as shortstop or even third or center field or anything like that. But there's talk even like, okay, well, he should be able to play second base kind of thing. It's the hit tool that brings it. They just set themselves up for failure, and then that they're setting themselves up for failure before we even start talking about any hitting philosophy. and that's the part that has me going with it. Tamar Johnson, like I think he plays a fairly well second base defensively, but still, like it's all in the bat, and if the bat doesn't adjust to professional pitching, then you just have nothing, and that's what they've been and they've backed themselves in the hole with this. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, I don't care what their hitting philosophy is. I know I'm trying to speed up here. I don't care what their hitting philosophy is. They set themselves up to failure way before that on there. So that's what I have to say. That probably makes zero sense. No one's probably going to like it, agree with it, but that's just how I feel with it.
Well, it made me buy a tablet, so.
I mean, that's a win for me. I don't get commission anymore, so that kind of sucks.
Yeah, and it's when I got time, I'm trying to. I kind of started a little bit to try and dive a little deeper, because I don't know. At least my perspective is I despise when people try to say that, like, oh well, they're just bad prospects. I'm like, I feel like that's just a cop out, saying like, oh, maybe they just suck to begin with, and it's like, well, all these other organizations are somehow developing players still.
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore's just hitter after hitter after hitter after hitter. I mean, yeah, Holiday didn't do so well, but I mean, well, I hadn't seen what Kerstad's doing yet, but I mean, even just, you still got Connor Norby in the minors. You got Kyle Stowers in the minors. Like, they're just hitter after hitter after hitter after hitter. And it's, I mean, a first round pick, second round picks, like, they're doing something. Is it that they're finding guys with specific tools? Is it how they're teaching them? Part of, I think, what I was saying to y'all was, or I think it was to you the other day when we were like texting back and forth, to where I almost feel like the Andy Haynes method, in which I guess that's where it gets troubling, is it Andy Haynes' philosophy that's going top down? Is he just a piece in the machine from top bottom, to where it does feel like they emphasize watching pitches and they're like, do not swing unless it's in your zone kind of deal, right? And it's, I feel like in a sense, I even started thinking too, similar to how the past, however, what was it, 2.5 years or so with like Matt Canada and the Steelers offense, you had players on the defense literally saying that they're like, we knew what was coming.
Yeah.
Like, they're so easy to scout. We know what's going to happen. And it almost feels similar sometimes to Pirates batters, to where pitchers know, if I throw a ball here, they're not going to swing. If I throw it here, they're not going to swing. So then you get in a pitcher's count. Well, now they got to expand, or they don't, because, you know, they love watching strike three. Or they're expanding to pitches they shouldn't be swinging at in the first place, and because they're in a pitcher's count and striking out, or bad hits. It's just, and because even, I mean, Shelton made a comment the other day. He's like, I wish they were more aggressive, and I feel like they need to be. They need to start attacking pitches instead of waiting to attack pitches specifically in specific zones. And I think you do see it with the minors too, because even talking about our boys, Siani and Head, I mean, you remember watching them in Bradenton, like they had like over 20% walk rates because they just watched pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch. And there's a bunch of other, I mean, Tamar Johnson's doing that, 20 plus strikeout rates or walk rates, because he just, if you got guys that don't have great command, they just ball, walk.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with the patient approach. I mean, hell, Moneyball was the whole Moneyball thing that was built on, working account and getting deep into it. But there's a limit to that, right? There's a limit to, and I don't care, I'm torn on that too, because I see your point with it, and I wasn't saying tomorrow was just the wrong pick or the bad pick or
Oh
anything.
yeah. No, I wasn't saying.
You could see the tools. I
Right.
can see, I've watched a lot of Tamar Johnson, and I watched all of his plate appearances from 2022 just yesterday. You can see the talent there. It's just the talent is there. It's just the adjustments aren't coming, and I feel too much, and like I said, I try to be careful with some of my words because I don't want to make it seem like I'm defending the front office, because like I said, I'm just here to watch baseball kind of thing. But
Right.
I feel too much blame is being placed on the front office and not enough on the players, because at the end of the day, it's I don't care what the hitting philosophy is, and again, I'm not going to put words in anyone's mouth, but I can't imagine that a hitting philosophy involves staring at strike three this often.
Right.
There's nobody. I don't see how you get a job at high school, walking into interview and saying yeah, I want them to stare at strike three. I don't want them to make any adjustments and look at it. So I just feel there's plenty of blame to go around with the front office if this is what their philosophy is, top down. There also needs to be more of an accountability as well to the players that yes, they want you to wait for the pitch in your zone and stuff like that, but also there's a certain amount of pitch recognition and stuff like that you got to have on your own that shouldn't have to be taught to you and stuff like that to make to make better contact than what's being made right now.
Yeah.
So I guess my stance is just not enough blame is being put on the players, maybe, as far as we just want to just 100% front office is doing this, front office is ruining all the prospects.
Yeah.
No, just that's the nature of prospects. Some prospects don't work out. Some prospects aren't as good as they seem. It's a whole different game once you get here. So
and somehow none of our hitting prospects are working out. But
I mean, and again, that kind of falls to the they're drafting the guys that the hit tool has to work out, or it's you just have nothing.
Well, that's the other thing too. Yeah, I feel like the thing I also mentioned was it felt like they were kind of going with the philosophy of get a guy that has an elite contact tool and teach him to hit for power. But once they start trying to hit for power, they lose that contact tool, start swinging and missing more, and there goes the contact tool.
Yeah.
But that's why, and I don't even remember the name now. That's why I like that. I was texted you the other day that one specific Henry Davis at bat still sticks out to me from 2022, where he was facing, I think the guy was 28, 29 at the time. He had foreign professional experience and was pumping 98, 99. And he was throwing at the top of the zone, and Henry Davis was getting to it. He was fouling it off. And I'm like, I mean, this guy's throwing 98, 99, and he can't blow it past him. Henry Davis is it. I mean, if he can get to that ball, even just to foul it off, he's it. And now I feel like a guy could throw 93 up there and he can't touch it. And
I don't know about the I'm not gonna on the 93 part. That's a little different, but I could have swore that at some point when I was at P2, I wrote something. I did a breakdown of Henry Davis, and I'll have to go back and see if I could find the video that I put together for it, or if I had the draft of it. But I wrote something saying that there's something in his swing to where I felt like he could have issues at the next level making contact. I can't remember. I know it was at P2 because I was already there by the time he really got into the system. But there's just something in his swing that I always felt like he may have an issue getting to some pitches and all that stuff. Maybe it was a small little hitch or something like that in the swing. I didn't think it was going to be this bad. But I mean, I feel like I've read other articles about him fine tuning the swing and stuff like that. So I haven't really dug deep into how much his swing has changed since then. If you're going to do that, like more power to you and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't want to like this is what everyone is talking about, and I didn't really didn't want to fall into that trap. But I mean, it's leaking now down into the minor league level, so I guess I figured
All
he had to
down.
all the way down, all the way down. So yeah, I mean, trying to make people trying to change drafting players for one reason or for them having a certain tool and then trying to completely abandon that tool, that's obviously a recipe for disaster. And that if that's what they're doing and stuff like that, then change has got to be made.
Yeah, I don't know. Because that's what I mean, Jack Sawinski, it's like what he's doing this year is what I feared he was going to do last year with his swing and miss. Although I think his K percentage is way down.
Mm-hmm.
He's making more contact and everything. It's just weak contact.
Doing the opposite now. Yeah, he's doing the opposite now. He's trying to make too much contact, and then it's taking the power away. Like I haven't really dug into like the major league numbers and all that stuff, but just by the little bit that I've seen, like I just kind of like, well, is that really a thing? Is that really what they're doing? Is that like a
Well, yeah, because I think Corey was the first one to like point it out, and then I saw a tweet about it later. But someone talking about it, it's like he's making more contact, but he's lost the power. It's been weird, man. It's weird.
It's all weird. At least we got the pitching.
It's all weird
to watch.
Right? There we go.
Yep. Win every game, 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, anything else you want to touch on that, or do you want to just hit up the preview?
We could just roll through the preview.
All right, we could go and roll through the preview. Yeah.
Well, we'll start with Indianapolis, who went 1-2 last week. They're taking on the Buffalo Bisons, Blue Jays affiliate, who have the first-ranked team OPS. So it's going to be a high-powered offense. It's going to be great for Paul Skeens and Eric Lauer to face. Unfortunately, Ricky Tiedemann's on the IL and doesn't look like he's going to be back anytime soon. So we won't see him this week. But Relvis Martinez is the number 2 ranked prospect in their system on Pipeline, and he's healthy. Also mashing the ball. So
yeah,
that's going to be a good test. Altoona, 0-6 last week. Not a good week. They've won one of their last, 12 games? Because they got waxed by Bowie. And then Akron didn't score as much, but, swept them in 6 games.
Jeez. They were all close games. I felt like they were all very close games.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever got blown out. Maybe one game. They were all
and I think
like 1-1 games.
Bullpen was blowing games, so
yeah. Well, I mean, the starters weren't going very, very deep. What is it? But Chandler didn't make it out of the first. Solomedo didn't make it out of the third. I don't think he made it out of the third. I don't know how long Po Chen went in his game, but the starters weren't really. There's a lot of pressure being put on the relievers there,
right
now. So
yeah, but Altuna's taking on Harrisburg, who they did pretty well with the last time they faced them, aside from the fact that they gave up 35 runs in 5 games. Dylan Cruz, obviously, the number 1 prospect with the Nationals. He had kind of a field day against Altoona last time, so we'll see how he does this. His first full season in AA he's above league average OPS, but he's not like killing it. And then there's obviously Brady House and Yohandy Morales and Robert Hassel III. So a lot of marquee names on Harrisburg. So that's going to be a fun one to watch, obviously. The golden child, the Grasshoppers, they They're taking on Winston-Salem White Sox, who ranked ninth out of 12 in team OPS and 12th out of 12th in team RA. So in Greensboro, time to tee off. Time for Hudson Head to help out his batting average of balls in play.
Does he have one yet?
Yeah, I think it's like 200 or something. Ciani to probably hit 4 home runs this week, And then obviously that stout pitching staff to pad their stats going against a pretty bad offense. But Noah Schultz, the White Sox second-ranked prospect on Pipeline, but also consensus top 100 prospect. Big lefty. Exciting kid.
Mm-hmm.
Then Bradenton, who went 1-5 last week. They have
a lot of their games were also close too. So I don't think Bradenton's going to be a great team, but I feel like they're on the verge of maybe it's showing in the win column a little bit more often, kind of thing.
Well, similar to what we were just saying about the Pirates, they're going to have to, or even just in general, they're going to have to win games 1-0 with that offense that had a sub 500 team OPS, but they did have a 2.65 team ERA, so that's always good.
That's good.
Yeah, but they're going against Fort Myers, who unfortunately Walker Jenkins is hurt. It's a lagging hamstring injury, so he probably won't be back. I don't think he's been doing anything. On top of, I had thought for a moment, I was looking and saw, Brooks Lee was injured. I was like, maybe he'll rehab, but he had a back injury in spring training and doesn't look like he's returning anytime soon. So we won't get to see a rehab in Brooks Lee. So, but they do have a couple of 2023 prep draft picks, Charlie Soto and Brandon Winokur. I remember we were talking about Winokur at one point.
Yeah.
We wanted him to be their late prep bat because he was just a big ginger that just mashed at that in that the combine. I couldn't remember the name of it.
Yeah. He looked good. I really like Charlie Soto through the whole process too. And I saw Birdlands posted a couple videos of some games he went to, and the stuff looks good. He's pitching really good right now for being a prep kid going straight to low A. So good.
So it's
we're not going to get to see Walter Jenkins.
Right. I was hoping, but yeah, the report I read was only like 2 days old, so I was like, yeah, no, he probably ain't coming back.
Yeah. I remember it was a podcast. I don't know which podcast on it. They're starting to wonder if this might be a reoccurring thing. Like he's had a lot of injury problems over the last couple.
Yeah, because it happened in their opening game. He had like one at bat and got hurt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, all right, good stuff. So we ran this. I talked and probably got nowhere with my talking, and that added about 10-15 minutes to the show. So we ran a little bit later than where we were trying to stick. So did you have anything else you wanted to toss in there before we close out?
All love. Does this look pink?
Yeah, pink, purple, pink. Yeah, pink. Yeah, there you go.
All love for the Pirates.
We're
gonna have a big week. It's gonna be a big
Pirates
week.
Or the Miners? I mean,
the entire organization.
Paul Skeens pitches twice this week.
Minus the game that's currently going on.
Yes, I don't know how. If everything goes as I think it's gonna go based off of last week, we should see Paul Skeens, Bubba Chandler, and Hunter Barco twice this week. So that's always good.
That's a pretty fire week.
Yeah,
that's a pretty fire week.
All right, well, good stuff. You want to close out with your socials and any quick NOLA knowledge if you got any?
Well, at NOLA Jeffy, NOLAJEFFY, right there on the screen. Knowledge. Once again, I got nothing.
Nothing. You're really slacking on this year.
No, it's this bald head. I don't know. It just everything bounces off.
Bounced off.
It's reflective.
All right. Well, you can follow me on Twitter at @double_Murphy88. I made a Facebook page for Bucks on Deck. So
Ooh.
if you prefer getting your stuff through Facebook, go ahead and follow whatever it is on Facebook. Bucks on Deck Substack, subscribe. We daily features, game day threads for people to come talk baseball. I know there's probably plenty of going on right now that I got to catch up on. Morning
I've been
recap
missing
of
it quite a
everything.
bit.
Yeah. I mean, we just updated our top 25 prospect list after the Quinn Priester. We were talking about doing a midseason update. I think we'll have to get together with Wilbur and everything like that and see if that's what we want to do. I don't want to do anything too early and make it too drastic, but I think that'd be some interesting changes that can go on. I do video breakdowns at least one a week. I'm going to be making a trip to Bradenton at some point coming up. So you'll get all the content that I get from down there. It'll be during the FCL season. So maybe I'll be able to get a Tony Blanco home run on video.
That'd be pretty huge.
That would be. But yeah, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Like I said, subscribe, Bucks on Deck. Have a great day.
Enjoy.